Okay, upon closer inspection of the file and what I was supposed to be after, and going through all the different walls, if you click on wall number 1 here, it's supposed to be right there in the front. Wall number 2 is there, and if you hit the down arrow, you can just go through these and cycle through them. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These 2 back walls there kind of make a corner of the room. And that's pretty much what I see here in the reference there. If you went through and double check the numbers, I think you'd be in pretty good shape. Now we need to grab a pillar and drag that into the scene. And we drag that right onto this ground plane there. And just hit Control W 5 times, so Control W creates us a few of these pillars. Now these pillars are in different locations. If I should have probably kept these grouped together, or you can actually slide these around and keep them organized. So if I grab these and just drag them down here at the bottom, you know, you can kind of keep them there. Now they're parented to wall number 1. We don't want that. Just drag between these shapes here. Okay, move into the root there. Let's see. I think it's actually, oh, it's alphabetical. I keep forgetting. So pillar here, F, P, W, you know, alphabetical. Cool. So what we're going to do is going to go through the pillar locations here. We have 6 pillars, 0 through 5. And we're going to put these numbers in there for all 6 pillars. So pause this while I do that real quick. All right, the pillars are in place. You've got to notice here that you probably see a bit of a pattern going on. Is that when you have an interior space like this, and if you only want your player to experience everything inside, it doesn't really matter too much if stuff sticks out the outside. All we care about is in here. Who cares about what's going on out there? And so it looks kind of dirty and sort of, my OCD wants to go in overdrive there and clean all that stuff up, but you kind of have to contain yourself and not worry too much about that, because it's all a matter of what is experienced by the player. Now let's just do a few things. I'm going to hit wireframe one more time. Alt 2, and we're going to go in there and replace a couple panels with a few different things. So we can actually take this wall panel here, which is 402. When you first walk in that door to your left, and we're going to take that and, is that the right one? Oh, not this one, sorry. Other corner. That's why I'm doing this with you guys, because if you lose track and like, oh, I must be a complete idiot, that's okay. You know, this is your first time doing this. You're looking at the instructions wrong, upside down, you're going to get lost. That's okay. So we're going to take this guy, and if you click on wall 400, 408, which is what this guy is right there in the corner. Yours might be different, of course. Don't worry too much if it is. I'm going to go to the static mesh, and right here, there's this little clicker, and you can take this guy, and if you select a different part, what we're going to do is we're going to click on wall door 400 by 400 here. You select that, and this represents, this little highlighted object is what you're selecting here. So this is what's representing. The static mesh is in this location with these transforms. If I click on this little arrow, I can replace this wall, which is wall 400 by 400, with this wall door. So click this little arrow, boom, and it replaces that with the new mesh. So that's cool. And since we want to have this room accessible, right now this room is like a safe room. I'll take this wall back here, which is sort of separating that wall there. And I'm going to do the same thing with that one. While I still have it selected, I don't have to do anything but hit this little arrow. It's going to replace it with that one too. So that's helpful. And we'll do the same thing with this other doorway out here. Not a doorway, this other wall back here. This wall back there. And we can replace that with the window 400 by 400. So it's the same size as these, which is why you want to kind of build everything in a modular fashion. So 400 by 400, just use one size scale. And now you want to replace a wall with a window, boom, just hit replace like that. You can also click on this little arrow here and find it in this listing as well. So instead of wall door, replace it with a door, or wall window. Either way works really well. So there's the window there. Oops, I didn't need to move it off. You can accidentally, if you're clicking here and just kind of dragging the scene, it's easy enough to grab onto the object and move it. So don't do that. Cool. Now we're going to go on to the next step, the next page of the thing, and we're going to actually add atmospheric and directional lighting. Atmospheric and directional lighting will be the outdoor light as it filters in through these windows, doorways, so that window there, this doorway here, and of course the giant front opening here. Right there. Because that's a front opening between these two wall pillars here. Okay, so how do we do that? We're going to grab an atmospheric fog. So let's go to lid first. Lid. So we see nothing now. Go over here to visual effects. Grab an atmospheric fog, which is, there it is. Just drag it into the scene, just let go. Now right off the bat, it doesn't really matter where you put that thing. It's simply an object that represents that this world is now being replaced and providing atmosphere. Cool. Now, this combines with the directional light, so we'll go over here to lights and grab a directional light and drag that into the scene. And when you drag it in there, you're going to see preview showing up in the room, which means that there are shadows being cast in the room, but they're preview shadows, so it's not accurate. And we will, of course, fix that in a little bit. Let's set the position for the directional light. It doesn't really matter actually where it is in location and space. It's just kind of be easy for us to kind of keep track of. 600 by 600. Again, it doesn't really matter there. But the rotation is going to be important. So it's going to be 0, minus 16, and minus 100. What that'll do is it'll directionally change the light's direction. So it's coming in from this direction and casting shadows in our scene, which is cool. These are preview shadows. They're not the final finished shadows, but they're at least going to give you an idea what the finished shadows are going to look like. So that's cool. And I think we're going to scale this up. I'm not exactly sure why the scale is 2.5, 2.5. Oh, that's just natural scale anyway. Don't worry about that. Leave that like it is. And the atmosphere sunlight. We click on atmosphere sunlight, which is under direct light intensity. And some of these things may be hidden. So if you scroll down here to atmosphere sunlight, see this little show advanced? Click on that show advanced, and you should see atmosphere sunlight there. And now, as I rotate my sunlight around, it changes the lighting in the atmosphere, so it actually affects the atmosphere. So undo that. If I change it this way here, you can see that setting sun changes the atmosphere as well. As the sun sets, if I change my angles here from 10 degrees to 5 degrees, I can kind of fine-tune that. Now you can see my setting sun. So I bring this up here. The sun looks a lot sharper, a lot cooler. Because the setting sun goes through more atmosphere, and you get more dark, cloudy effects, and that just warms the sunlight. So if you zoom back out, oops, sorry, get that back to where it was. Click undo and deselect it. Move out here. So that's where our scene looks like right now. And notice the light that's coming in, it isn't really bouncing in and doing much inside the scene. So we're gonna make a few changes here. But first, let's look at the sunlight and make a quick change to the color. And we're gonna make the RGB for the light color here. Click on the R values. 255 is good for R. We want full red. 235 or something like that is pretty good. We're gonna make it a little more reddish, a little bit less green, and bring the B value down to 181. There you go. A little more kind of setting sun feel, like that. could also use temperature too, which would, if you lower the temperature, it would actually increase the warm feel of the sun. And now, if we hit build, this little arrow here under build, we're going to build the with a preview lighting quality. But build right now, it's going to kind of run through what's called swarm. It's going to send out, find as many machines are hooked to it, and process the information. The there you go. Just gathering the scene geometry and just building out the lighting process. And here's the little swarm thing going on here. So it's telling you what's going on. Checking the maps, making sure things are all done. Building complete. Hit apply. And map check found some errors. Yeah, we won't worry about that right now. So now this is, oops, escape here, hold on. There's the lighting. So the light's actually coming in and bouncing around the room and bouncing up against the walls. So the lighting is actually fairly robust. As we walk inside too, you notice the exposure changes. If I go to a darker part of the room, the lighting will change and increase the power. If I look toward that over there, it's much darker. It's also volumetric too, which is really cool. This kind of volumetric appearance in the corner there. So that's actually done for free. If I go here to the dark room here, I walk around. That light isn't really bouncing in there quite as much. Cool. So I can come back out again, take a little look at the room from the inside, and just get used to moving your camera around using these controls. Close out that window. And as you add more lights in here, the scene will look a little bit stronger. You may actually want to increase that power intensity of the sunlight. Grab the sunlight here real quick, directional light. And intensity is set to 10. I think that's about right. Yeah. It should be okay. If we want to change the build quality, so build lighting quality to medium instead of preview, and did a build. I play accidentally that first time, so I apologize. It actually was build. You'll get a little bit better quality. Take a little bit longer to process. The final result will be a little bit more fine-tuned. You get much better results, and probably back in this corner here, you might get even better light filtration in that scene. But we'll probably have to put some secondary lights in there just to get that all to work. Let's come out of that dark room into the bright sunlight. Cool. So that's kind of a real basic setting with directional lights. Now we're going to put in a importance volume there too, so we're not taking time to process things that aren't important to us. And we'll add a few point lights around the scene just to kind of help light that dark corner. So, in fact, let me just do that right now before we go too far. I'll zoom out, way out here and back at that room, and we'll just drag a point light. Just drag it into the scene, just drop it on the floor right there. You could also put it against a wall, doesn't really matter. So there's that little light source. So there we go, a light source in there. Currently it's way stronger than the outside of the room, the setting sun, so it's a bit strong. So we're going to set this location here to -387. Feel free to just do this by eyeball. There you go. So that's the lights now on the top of the room. Looks good. And the details, I'm going to go here to the settings. Set our light color to a little bit more bluish color. So RGB is going to be more 206 and 248 and 255. So that's much more bluish light, which is kind of fun. And the attenuation rate is going to be about 1000, which is what it's set to. And we're going to set the intensity from 500 to 5,000 to 100. There we go. And that's much more realistic to light sources. This light source may seem dim, but if you're walking in from the outdoors, you're going to walk into a dark room and that light's going to be just barely noticeable. And your eye's going to adjust and it's going to sort of like, okay, that's not so dark. Let's see. I'm going to adjust this a little bit more. We're going to take a look at the attenuation radius. If I pull back out and go up, oops, like that. And the attenuation radius is really, really extreme. Now, normally lights don't, like this, manual lights, man-made lights, don't have that extreme fall off or attenuation. That's much more, much smaller. So if we bring this down to 350, much smaller, we'll type 350. It's only going to be as powerful as that radius is there. Oops. Keep rotating that darn thing. Now that radius now brought down, you can maybe even increase that power because it's barely hitting the insides of that room there. And probably just up the intensity a little bit more. So just kind of fine tune that intensity until you find something that's workable. Going to have another doorway, another door there, I think. Seems rather dark in there. Okay. And again, when you put this in there, make sure you hit build. Actually, let me just put this back to 100. Because maybe it needs to be set to that. And then hit build. I'll pause it. Okay, there we go. So the build's done. And it looks like the build took brought a little bit more illumination to that space. So let me deselect everything. I'm going to walk in that zone. Looks a little bit better. A little bit brighter than it was before. So I'm going to keep that at 100 for right now. But feel free to make adjustments to that. All right, we're going to add some spotlights in next and add some materials as well.